I came home on a Tuesday, and my wife had the house smelling like roasted chicken and rosemary. She kissed my cheek, slid my briefcase off my shoulder, and pressed a cold seltzer into my hand like she always did. I was relaxing into it when I noticed a coffee mug in the sink, lipstick smudged in a shade Emma never wore. Not her color, not her brand. I stared half a second too long. Long day? She asked, back to me, drawer clinking with forks. Same circus, I answered, setting the can on the counter. New acrobats. She laughed. Eat first, then you can pretend to be a couch. I let it go. Married people see things and file them under nothing. That was me. Until 48 hours later, in a corner booth at the little coffee place near my job, a stranger sat down across from me and blew my life open. Your wife meets with my husband, she said, barely above a whisper. No hello, no warm-up, just a statement like a nail through wood. I stared at her. Late 30s, dark hair in a tight ponytail, blazer over a simple tee, hands steady on a ceramic cup she hadn't tasted. Excuse me, I asked slow. She meets with him at your house. Almost every day you're at work. I should have told her to leave. I didn't. Something about how she watched my face, careful and sorry at the same time, made me still. I don't know you, I said. I know. I'm Rachel. She breathed like she'd practiced. Before you argue, just look. She slid an envelope across the table. Glossy prints. My front porch, the side yard, the kitchen window. A tall guy I didn't recognize walking in like he owned the place. Same slim duffel every time. The timestamps punched holes in my stomach. 11:23 a.m., 12:17 p.m., 1:05 p.m., the hours I was usually waist deep in lumber schedules and delivery headaches. Who is he? I asked. It came out dry. My husband, Mark, she said. I hired a private investigator. I've known for a week. She swallowed. My attorney told me to keep quiet. But I kept seeing you in here, sitting with that same black coffee and a breakfast wrap, and I felt like a criminal watching you not know. I gripped the edge of the table. This is a joke. It's not, she said. Please don't confront her right now. I'm not here to start a fire. I needed to warn you because, frankly, watching you smile on your way out every morning was making me sick. I stared at a photo again, the angle through our kitchen window. Emma in a light sweater, hair tied up, setting a plate on the island. The tall guy coming up behind her with a familiarity that punched through any doubt I had left. Rachel reached, laid her hand on mine. I'm sorry. I almost stood. She tightened her fingers. Don't go blow it up today. If you do anything messy, it hurts both of us. I'm trying to keep it clean. How long? I asked. I don't know, she said. The photos cover a week. But the pattern's not new. He gets sloppy when he thinks he's safe. If I'd known where this was headed, I'd have stopped taking sugar in my coffee, I said, staring at the cup like it offended me. It sounded like a joke. It wasn't. We exchanged numbers. I went to work and forgot how to breathe for most of it. When I got home that night, Emma met me at the door with a kiss and the question she asked every time, how was your day? Except now I heard it like a script. Busy, I told her, leaning my keys into the bowl. How was yours? She brightened a shade too much. Yoga with Laura. Then I reorganized the hall closet. Oh, and I tried a new marinade. Laura's class is on Wednesdays, I said, casual as weather. I opened the fridge for water, washed her face in the reflection. They added a pop-up session, she said. You know how those studios are. Sure, I said, and drank, and felt the first brick shift under my feet. The next morning I saw Rachel again at the coffee shop. We talked like two people in a waiting room. She told me about Mark's job in sales, all travel and late lunches. I told her about my work running crews for a remodeling company, permits, deliveries, subcontractors who believed calendars were vague suggestions. We avoided the obvious a while. Then we didn't. What are you going to do? She asked. Not blow it up, I said. Not yet. Good, she said, letting out a breath. My attorney's name is Grant. He's sharp and quiet. If you want to talk to someone who's already in the loop, he's there. Text me his number, I said. She did. I stood to go, late again, and Rachel touched my sleeve this time. You don't deserve to be left in the dark. Neither do you, I answered, and headed to a job site trying to remember which end of a schedule goes first. At home, I changed tactics. I stopped announcing my arrival time. I cut the habit of texting leaving now. If she had a calendar built around my absence, I was about to erase it. That night, the routine was flawless again. Music low, lights warm. Emma was bent over a cutting board, smiling like a magazine cover. "You're early," she chirped. Traffic was kind, I told her, dropping my lunchbox on the counter a little harder than necessary. "How'd today go?" "Laundry," she said. "A walk. I met with a neighbor about the block party." "Which neighbor?" I flipped open the dryer and pulled out a warm hoodie I didn't own. Men's medium. Faded high school logo from a place I'd never heard of. "Chelsea," Emma said, too fast. "From the corner house." "You never liked Chelsea. She's funny when you get to know her." "She's loud when you get to know her," I said, holding up the hoodie by the sleeve. "Who's this?" She glanced over. "I think that's yours." "Is it?" I kept my voice lazy. "Or maybe from the donation bin I sorted," she added quickly. "I was going through stuff." "Right," I said, and draped it over a chair. "Careful you don't donate the wrong things." She laughed. "Don't worry." I didn't argue. I watched the clock. 11 a.m. tomorrow. I planned to be 3 miles away, not 30. I moved a site visit on my calendar and told Luis, our supplier rep, I'd stop by the warehouse at lunchtime. The next day, at 11:20, I swung my truck by my own street. I didn't pull in. I kept rolling, slow, 2 blocks off, just enough to see my driveway through the gap. A sedan I didn't recognize coasted in. The tall guy stepped out, same duffel. He didn't look around. He didn't need to. I turned left instead of right, went to the warehouse, and signed for cabinets like I wasn't watching the dot on my phone that was my house, sitting still. Luis lifted a brow. "You good?" "Peachy," I told him. "Cabinets are on time for once. That's almost a holiday." He laughed. I didn't. I drove back to the site and worked until the sky shifted from blue to bone white, and then I went home to my sweet, attentive spouse, who hugged me like she had nothing to hide. I let her. I didn't break the scene. I cut my own lines instead. 2 days later, I met Grant. Tall, calm, never once used the phrase gotcha. He explained paperwork like he was reading me a map. "I'm filing for Rachel this week," he said. "If you want to file, the process is similar. Clean, factual. No fireworks." "Do it," I said. He nodded. "You understand that discretion protects you both." "I do," I told him. "I'm not interested in theater." By the time I signed my name, my hands didn't shake. Rachel and I walked out together and stood under a gray sky like we were waiting for a bus. "You okay?" she asked. "I don't know what that means yet," I said, "but I'm moving." We kept meeting mornings. It became a weird little ritual, 2 people with matching bruises, sharing coffee and quiet. She had a dry way of talking about awful things that I appreciated. One morning, she almost smiled. "You ever feel like we're the 2 sane ones who wandered onto the wrong movie set?" she asked. "Every hour," I said. I flicked a crumb off the table. "You're handling it well." "I cry in the car," she said, almost joking. "Then I fix my eyes and keep going. Good system." She looked at me a second longer than before. "You're steady." "Or numb," I answered. "Steady," she said again. We didn't flirt. We didn't try to. Then one morning, after a week of sitting across from me, Rachel leaned forward and spoke like she was crossing a line she'd already rehearsed. "Forget your wife," she said. "I like you. You're honest. How about a real dinner with me, not these 10-minute hiding sessions?" Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. I didn't expect that. I held her gaze. "Tonight. Tonight," she echoed, and I knew exactly what I was choosing and what I was burning behind me. I didn't tell Emma I'd be late. I didn't tell her anything. I went to work, built a schedule for the week that didn't include me running home at 6, and then I changed at the office and took Rachel to a quiet place on the other side of town. No talk about evidence or timelines. We talked about normal things, how she grew up outside Milwaukee, how I still change my own oil because I don't trust quick fixes, how she tried to bake bread during the shutdowns, and it turned into hockey pucks. We laughed. Not the bitter kind. Real. In the car, afterward, we sat under a streetlight we didn't need. "I haven't felt like myself in a long time," she said. "You felt like yourself tonight," I told her. She nodded, then hesitated. "Can I?" I leaned in and answered her with a kiss that wasn't about pain. She exhaled against my cheek, rested there, then pulled back. Thank you, she said. I squeezed her hand. This is the last time I explain anything to anyone who doesn't respect me, I said. I was thinking about Emma. I was thinking about myself. The next week, I reworked my life. I cut off the routines Emma used as cover. I moved my lunch to odd hours. I stopped leaving my truck in the driveway, parked 2 blocks over, walked in like a ghost at random times. I split our accounts into mine and ours, moved my direct deposit to mine, and put her on a weekly transfer that covered household basics and nothing else. I didn't announce it. I just did it. On Thursday, she noticed. Hey, she said across the kitchen island, flipping through the app on her phone. Did the paycheck shift? I adjusted our budget. I told her, rinsing a glass. You have a weekly transfer for household expenses. Anything beyond that, talk to me first. Her smile pinched. Since when do I ask permission to buy groceries? Groceries are in the transfer, I said. Extras aren't. Extras like what? My gym membership. That's your call, I told her. But I'm not sponsoring hobbies I didn't sign up for. Her eyes flashed. You're being controlling. I'm being careful, I said. House stays paid. Lights stay on. We keep it clean and simple. Clean and simple, she repeated, like it tasted bad. Then she inhaled and changed tone. I'm sorry. That was sharp. You do so much. I appreciate you. Mid-turn. Soft landing. I watched her move around the island to touch my arm. You've been stressed, she added gently. Sit. I made your favorite. I let her set a plate in front of me. I let her rub my shoulders, and I let my face relax without letting down the wall. I knew what the tenderness was, not love. Maintenance. The next 3 days, she was all lightness. She packed me lunches with little notes. She texted me photos of the dog doing stupid dog things. She asked about my crew by name. The effort was almost convincing. Then Saturday night at a friend's backyard barbecue, she changed strategies. We were at Mike and Nora's place. He's a plumber I subcontract. She's a nurse with a wicked sense of humor. A dozen people, lawn chairs, smoke curling off the grill. I was by the cooler, talking delivery delays with Mike, when Emma sidled up and bumped me with her hip. Tell everyone about your truck, she sang out, too loud. How you baby it like it's the firstborn. A couple heads turned. I smirked. A man's allowed to keep one thing running right. She laughed and added, he spends more time polishing that thing than talking to me. It was pitched as a joke. It wasn't one. Mike lifted a brow. Don't drag the man. His truck hauls my water heaters. Emma wasn't finished. If he cared as much about romance as he does about tire pressure, maybe I'd be as shiny. Nora winced. Emma. I set my cup down. You done? I asked Emma lightly. She grinned at the crowd. He's touchy. Here's the new rule, I said, voice level. No more jokes about me at parties. You want to roast someone? Find a mirror. Silence cut the corner of the yard. Emma's smile dropped a hair. I was kidding. Don't, I said, not giving her a ramp. You've got a good shtick inside these picket fences. It doesn't fly on me anymore. Nora stepped in, changing the subject, but the look she gave me said she understood. Emma sulked for 6 minutes, then switched back to Sunny, grabbed me a beer I didn't ask for, and gave me a kiss on the jaw like we were prom royalty. Rachel texted me later. How was the party? I sent back, public boundary set. She replied with a single checkmark emoji. It said enough. Monday morning, I told my crew I was working offsite for a few days. I started staying later in the city, grabbing dinner with Rachel in real places, not hiding. She wore that same blazer half the time and still managed to look like calm in a storm. We built a rhythm fast. Coffee, work, dinner, a walk, repeat. It stopped being about the mess behind us and turned into a normal timeline with normal laughs. At home, the air thickened. Emma noticed the cracks. She tried attention, then tried rules. You're late, she said Tuesday at 9:40 p.m., arms folded. I am, I agreed, hanging my jacket. You said you'd be home by 7. I said I was working late, I told her. That's what happened. Working where? With who? Her jaw set. With my crew, I said. And myself. Don't get smart. I'm already there. She exhaled hard, then slid into concern like a new dress. Are we okay? You've been different. We're fine, I said. I'm adjusting my life to my priorities. Which are? Work, peace, sleep. No room for me, she asked, soft. That depends how you behave, I said, and walked past her to the living room. The old me would have calmed her down, rubbed her back, made us tea. The new me clicked on the late game and didn't fill silences she created. She stood behind the couch. Do you want to go to counseling? No, I said. That's it. No, that's it. She scoffed. So that's your plan? Shut down. My plan is to stop funding nonsense with my time, I said, eyes on the screen. Play nice, you get nice. Play games, you get rules. She left the room muttering. I muted the TV and texted Rachel. It's getting loud here. She sent back. Same on my end. He's sensing the distance and turning it into demands. Then, want to take a drive tomorrow after work? Yes. The following afternoon, I called Grant from the job site. How close are we? I asked. 2 weeks, he said. I'll have both sets of documents ready. Rachel's on track too. Line up a time, I told him. We'll be ready. That night, the second illusion landed. Emma made an elaborate dinner I didn't deserve. Candlelight, cloth napkins, the good plates. She wore the dress I used to love. She didn't say a word about where I'd been. She asked about my day like an interviewer. Somewhere between the salad and the steak, she put her hand on mine. I miss us, she said. I know I've been distracted lately. I'm sorry. About what? I asked. She blinked. Just not being present. Not being present, I repeated slowly. Right, she said. I want to fix it. How? She smiled gently. Less phone. More time together. I'll cancel yoga this week. We can do a date night. Or just stay here, no distractions. I watched her face for a beat longer than she liked. That's generous, I said. You sound skeptical, she said. I am, I told her. But we can try. She brightened. Great. Tomorrow. I've got plans tomorrow, I cut in. With who? My calendar, I said. You do you. The muscles around her mouth tightened. The dress stopped working. She cleared the plates in silence. I didn't chase her into the kitchen. 2 days later, I came home early again, before noon, quiet as a church. I parked 2 blocks away, walked up our street, and looked through the side gate. The back door was cracked. Voices inside low. I stood there and counted to 100. Then I walked away. I didn't need to see more. I just needed confirmation that my decision wasn't a reaction, it was a verdict. Around that time, Mark got sloppy in a new way. He parked closer. He wasn't as careful. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patel, waved at me that evening as I took out the trash. You weren't home earlier, she said with a smile too tight. But your friend was. My friend? I asked. The tall one, she said, lowering her voice. He should not park in the green spot. We pay for that line painting. Noted, I told her. I'll let him know next time I see him. She blinked, reading something in my face, then nodded once and went inside. That was the last neighborly hint I needed. I started collecting my essentials into 3 bins I kept in the trunk of my truck: tools, clothes, documents. I told no one. I changed the password on our home Wi-Fi and didn't tell Emma the new one. I put a small safe deposit box at the bank and moved our original titles and my passport into it. None of it was dramatic. It was math. A week later, I met Rachel after work, and we drove an hour out of town to walk along the river in a public park where no one knows either of us. We talked about future things for the first time, what kind of place we'd want if we weren't living where secrets slept, what neighborhood had coffee shops that didn't pretend to be clubs, what would make mornings simple. Windows, she said. Big ones. Garage, I answered. I like my tools too much. Fine, she said. 2 car. 1 for you, 1 for your wrench museum. We laughed. Then she looked at me sideways. You really okay doing this? She asked, dropping the light tone. Not just leaving, building. I'm not a man who lives twice in the same fire, I said. I learned once. She nodded, eyes bright but not weak. Then we moved smart. No announcements. No scenes. Agreed. 2 days later, Grant called. Tomorrow, he said. Everything's ready. You and Rachel can sign at 9. Good, I told him. That night, I slept like I hadn't slept in months. Not happy. Focused. In the morning, I left the house before dawn. Emma was still asleep. I stood in the doorway for a second, not sentimental, just final. I went to the coffee shop, grabbed 2 to-go cups, and met Rachel outside Grant's office. We signed. We didn't hold hands. We didn't need to. It was done in 30 minutes. Clean. Factual. Quiet. Now what? She asked on the sidewalk. Now we load a car, I said. She smiled. more in her eyes than her mouth. Let's do it. We drove to my place first. I parked in the driveway for once, walked in without knocking, and grabbed exactly what I wanted. Clothes from my side of the closet, my toolbox from the garage, a box of old family photos, and the watch my dad gave me when I turned 30. I wrote a note, printed it, and set it on the kitchen island next to a neat stack of folders. Emma came in from the backyard, hair up, phone in hand. She stopped when she saw Rachel behind me. "What is this?" she asked, voice flat. "Clarity," I said. "Documents on the island. They explain everything." "You're kidding," she said. "Who is she?" "Someone who knows the value of truth," I answered. "I'm done living where it doesn't exist." "You're being dramatic," she shot back. "We're fine. We had a rough patch. We can." "We're not fine." I cut in, keeping my tone even. "We're finished. You read the papers, you'll understand the schedule. The house will be sold. You'll get your share. There's a number to call with questions. It's not mine." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You can't just." "I can," I said, and stacked the last box. "And I am." She looked past me to Rachel. "You're proud of this? You destroyed my marriage." "No," Rachel said, voice calm. "Your choices did that. I'm just not pretending for you." Emma laughed, but it cracked. "You think you're better than me?" "I think I'm done here," I replied, picking up the last bag. I reached into the drawer where we kept the spare keys, pulled mine off the ring, and set it next to the paperwork. Emma's face crumpled into anger. "You'll be back." "I'm not a boomerang," I said. "I'm a door. Once I close, that's it." "You're a coward," she hissed. "No," I said, half smiling. "I'm finally brave." I walked out without slamming anything. Rachel followed. We loaded my truck in silence. Emma didn't come outside. She texted me twice before I reached the end of the street. I blocked her. It wasn't rage. It was policy. We drove to Rachel's place next. Mark's car wasn't there. She moved with efficiency. Duffels already zipped, a box of files, a few framed photos she decided to keep for history, not for love. On her kitchen table, she'd left her own stack of documents and a simple note. "House gets listed Friday. Your belongings will be boxed and held for pickup. Do not enter without an appointment." As we were lifting the last box, Mark walked in like he still had a key to the world. He stopped dead. He looked at me, then at the cartons, then at Rachel. "What's going on?" he said, stunned. "Read the table," she told him, not breaking stride. "It's all there." "You're making a mistake," he started. She cut him with a look. "No, I'm correcting one." He glanced back at me. "You think you're winning something?" I leaned against the door jamb. "No scoreboard here, champ. Just exits and entrances." He stepped forward like he might try a scene. Rachel's neighbor, Mr. Fletcher, appeared in the doorway behind him with a sack of lawn seed and a neutral face that said he'd watch this without picking a side. Mark adjusted. He wasn't stupid, just arrogant. He settled for words. "You'll hear from me," he said. "Not directly," I told him. "There's a number with the paperwork. Use that." "We're not done," he said to Rachel. She picked up a box and moved past him. We left. No yelling, no plates, no anything. We drove to a small rental on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. Rachel had found it with Grant's help while everything simmered. 2 bedrooms, clean floors, wide windows that faced a maple tree. Not big, not fancy. Fresh. We set the boxes down and leaned against opposite walls, watching each other like new teammates after the final whistle of a long game. "We did it," she said, voice low. "We did," I answered. She walked over, slid her hand into mine, and we stood for a minute without needing to fill the air. Then we unpacked. We argued lightly about which cabinet should hold the coffee. We agreed on where the toolbox goes. We sat on the floor and ordered 2 takeout bowls and ate them cross-legged, laughing about how weird it felt to have nothing to hide. The call started that evening. Emma, then Mark, then Emma again from a different number, then a barrage of messages that ran the usual spectrum: sweet, sorry, furious, bargaining. I turned my phone face down and set a second rule for the new place. No dragging old noise into clean rooms. Rachel did the same. We slept like people who earned it. The next week, we met with Grant again to finalize logistics. The real estate agent came by both houses and did the boring, necessary work. I signed papers, transferred titles, answered emails. Emma tried for dramatic texts, photos of old gifts. Remember when messages, then insults when those didn't work. Mark sent a long, angry paragraph about how I'd stolen something that never belonged to him in the first place. I didn't respond to either of them directly. I forwarded anything relevant to Grant and went back to my day. Work got lighter. Luis noticed first. "You look 10 pounds happier," he said, handing me a delivery receipt. "I started sleeping," I told him. "Turns out it's legal." Jake, one of my crew leads, gave me a nod the first morning I walked on site after the move. "You look different, boss." "Drop dead weight," I said. He didn't ask for details. Good man. One afternoon, Nora called me while I was loading sheet goods. "You okay?" she asked. "Emma's been around, telling a version." "I'm good," I said. "She said you bailed out of nowhere." "Tell her I left after a long time of knowing exactly what was happening," I said. "But don't tell her anything. She can practice hearing herself." "Copy that," Nora said. "You need anything?" "Yeah," I said. "A plumber who shows up when he says." She laughed. "I'll send Mike." Divorces move faster when people stop pretending. Ours did. The houses sold. Numbers got split clean. There were no scenes at the closings, just signatures and keys. Emma tried for one last swing with a long email about history and forgiveness. I replied once, "I wish you peace, and I'm not available." That was it. Rachel and I built a routine that didn't feel like a stunt. We woke early. We ran through the park by the river. We took turns cooking. On Fridays, we drove out to a little diner far enough away that nobody knew our names, and the waitress started calling us the quiet couple. I went to the hardware supply on Saturdays like a ritual, picked up a new set of shelves, and built them in the garage. She organized them with a label maker she swore was an overkill. We started having people over, Jake and his wife for burgers, Nora for a loud laugh in the kitchen, Luis for one of his Cuban recipes that filled the whole place with garlic. No one talked about the past like it was worth more than a lesson. Emma faded into a distant detail. I heard through a neighbor she was renting a small place across town. She'd changed her hair. She'd picked up a second job. No names, no labels, just facts. Mark tried grand gestures, showed up at Rachel's old house before the agent changed the lockbox code, and got a polite warning from the agent and a note in some file that said, "Do not show without appointment." He moved into a furnished apartment by the highway. The world didn't end for either of them. It just got smaller. Months passed, and the new place felt like ours because no one had ever lied in its rooms. One Sunday morning, I was fixing a loose hinge on a cabinet door while Rachel made pancakes that could make a grown man consider religion. She brought me a plate, leaned against the counter, and watched me work. "You know what I love?" she asked. "That you use real butter," I said. "That, and the fact that our phones are quiet." I smiled. Silence is underrated. She slid the plate toward me. "Eat. Then we go look at that house with the big windows and your precious two-car garage." I pretended to think. "Will there be room for your label maker shrine?" "I'll allow one shelf," she said. We did go. We walked through a place with sunlight where it should be and space for the tools I wasn't willing to give up. We made an offer. It was accepted. We moved again, this time with celebration instead of triage. I bought a used SUV with enough room for lumber. Rachel planted herbs in pots on the back steps and named them like pets. We kept the rules we made on day one. No old noise in clean rooms. No jokes at each other's expense in front of other people. No pretending to save what isn't worth saving. I ran into Mrs. Patel at a hardware aisle a few months later. She smiled for real this time. "You look well," she said. "I am," I told her. "And your friend with the parking?" she asked. "His habit moved away," I said. She nodded, satisfied. "Good." Before we left the old city for good, I drove by my old street one last time. Not to brood. To confirm that doors, once closed, stay closed if you're the one who shut them. The house looked the same from the outside. Someone else's car sat in my old spot. I had no interest in the inside. Back home, Rachel was on the porch with 2 mugs. "Anything to report?" she asked. "Just confirmation," I said. "Nothing there for me." She handed me a mug. Good. We sat in comfortable quiet. A text came in, a photo from Nora of Mike pretending to install a dishwasher into his pickup bed. The caption, "Do not disturb genius at work." I sent back a thumbs up and the word invoice. Rachel leaned her shoulder against mine. "You never told me the line you left her with," she said softly. "The one that shut the door." I thought for a second, took a sip, and gave it to her straight. I told her, I'm not a boomerang. I'm a door. Once I close, that's it. Rachel smiled, small and honest. That's you, she said. Simple. Final. That's us, I corrected. Simple. Final. She reached for my hand. We didn't need to say anything else. We already had the only thing that mattered. A house where the truth is normal and the past doesn't get a chair at the table. The rest is just maintenance. And I'm good at that.